battles.
Yeah.
We back him up in the pecking order behind him.
Yeah, we got.
Characterize those guys.
Yep. Well, we got two guys that don't know left from right. You know, I mean, literally, I mean, and they're driving the machine, so I mean, we can only go at their pace. So when you talk about starting over, I mean, you're starting over, and we have a ton of work to do with Tucker and Kelly, in particular. You know, Nick's got to take another step as far as his command, leadership, precision in this offense. He knows it, but he's got to take that next step, leadership, all of that, and I think he will. I mean, we're going to really push him this spring because we need Nick to really assert himself more, and his role's different too. You know, it's the first time. This time last spring, you know, it was you know, Chad and Cole and Sean was just getting here, and you know, now Nick's a factor for us. So it's a little different sense of urgency with him, and we need him to take another step for us. And hopefully he'll rise up to the occasion and take advantage of the opportunity he has this spring. And then even though Deshaun's not out there, you know, everybody respects Deshaun. But we still need him to lead, and you know, he can do that. And so we need that from him this spring, in that quarterback room, on the practice field, in the dining hall, in the locker room. You know, that can't just stop, and let's pick that back up in the summer. But it's going to be a huge spring for Kelly and Tucker. We got a lot to do with them. You know, I'm excited about Brandon and watching him get off to a good start as far as you know, bowl practice, but he's not coach. He hasn't coached Tucker. He hasn't coached Kelly. So it's literally, you know, we've got 15 days, and all I know is that they're both really talented young players that have some similarities, but a lot of differences too. And we got to get one of them or both of them ready to play. And as you go into spring, we got to get them both ready to play. We have no idea what's going to happen between now and fall camp. I mean, you just look around the country. I mean, you know, Ohio State, you know, played their third-team guy and won the national championship. So we've got to get all four of our guys ready to win the league for us. That's our ultimate goal, and it starts this spring. You know, but hopefully they'll. You know, Deshaun kind of got off to a slow start last spring, and boy, really came on at the end of the spring. Missed the last couple of days there with his collarbone thing, but really, like, okay, boy, he started to get it, and then he took that into the summer. Came back, you know, 20 pounds heavier and things like that when fall camp started, and just a different guy mentally. And so will Kelly and Tucker, will they make that same progression? We'll see. Will they work like Deshaun did? Will they respond? But they're certainly going to get a ton of opportunity, and we need both those guys to rise up. That's why we recruited them.
Tucker and Kelly are two different cats athletically.
Yep.
Tucker has a lot of experience, a lot more experience in this kind of offense. Do you see an advantage?
You know, I really don't have an opinion on that because we haven't coached them yet, and until you get out there, I mean, you never really know. Listen, Kelly Bryant, Coach Tate over at Wren, and what they do a phenomenal job with their system and coaching and teaching, and they do a lot of the same things that we do, and they put a lot of pressure on Kelly. I watched him play live. You know, I got a chance because my son, or Daniel, I got a chance to go over there to that game, and heck, I left because I thought it was over, and I'm trying to get back to the hotel, and there's 34 seconds left on the clock, and I mean, he was a one-man show. I mean, he just put on a show, but I think it's over. I think Daniel's got the game won, and you know, 34 seconds later, you know, Kelly's taking him down the field. I mean, this guy has played. Yes, he did not grow up with the exposure like he's had the last couple of years. He ran the option a lot and things like that, and was kind of seen more as an athlete. But he has all the tools to be a great quarterback, and he is a huge ceiling. I think he has so much room to improve. It's going to be a lot of fun to watch him. But he's a worker. He's a great young man. Excellent student. You know, and just you know, the kind of guy that you want at that position. I think his potential is unlimited. So we'll see, you know, where he is. But he's been exposed to more than people give him credit for. Tucker, on the other hand, I mean, yeah, he came out of the womb slinging it. I mean, the guy just he throws the ball all over the place, and he's thrown a million passes. You know, his deal. I mean, I don't know that he's handed the ball off. That's going to probably be a new concept for him. Oh, there's a running back. Well, how do I do that? You know, because that's what he did, and that's what their school and what their coach was committed to. So he has a very high acumen, you know, IQ, you know, in a passing game standpoint and coverages and getting rid of the ball. You don't see him get hit a lot. He's a little like Kyle Parker in that regard. He reminds me a lot of Kyle, and probably as y'all get to know him a little bit, you're probably going to have that same sense. He's just kind of a little bit of I don't know if free spirit's the word for him, but he's kind of a loose guy, not really overwhelmed. But he's not going to overwhelm you athletically, although he's okay. He'll shock you like Kyle. KP'd shock you, man. You know, he had good instincts as far as moving in the pocket, and next thing you know, he's moved the chains for 10 yards on you. And that's what Tucker reminds me of. But he can spin the football. So I think they just kind of come from different backgrounds in that regard. Obviously, Kelly has this tremendous size and athleticism to go with it. But, you know, advantage, I have no idea. I mean, playing quarterback is a whole lot more than just throwing the ball with velocity and being able to run and jump. You know, it's decision-making, it's accuracy, it's leadership. And so until you start coaching guys, it's hard to measure that. Yeah, we'll start off. Kendall and Corey will start off as our second team guys at Mike and Will. We'll have Kendall is a guy that really we almost played last year. I mean, we were that far from playing. Was probably ready to. I mean, we just felt like that. Unless we just had to have him, we were confident with the guys that we had. But man, he is a very good football player that I think is going to shine this spring. Corey, I think, is the same way. So those two guys will kind of get that first shot. Chris Register's another guy that'll be in there at Mike Backer. Jalen Williams, we'll start out at Will. Jalen's a guy we're going to look at 2 or 3 different spots. Probably work at him a little bit at Mike as well. Maybe even look at him as a little nickel Sam, see how he responds there. But a guy that we have good instincts with. But as far as the red shirts, Kendall and Corey and Chris Register, you know, those 3 guys, we're excited about getting started with them. And then we got, you know, obviously some new guys with JD and Judah and Chad Smith and Jalen rolling in here that we got to figure out as we get going.
Going back to Deshaun Brown, has your medical staff given you some idea of when he'll be cut loose to go out and practice?
Well, we know he's not going to practice this spring, so he'll be ready in the fall. He'll be way past ready in the fall. But you know what we expect is for him to be able to, you know, lead our guys in the summer in the skills and drills. You know, that's our expectation. And you know, I think his first test, his first marker, he was supposed to be at like 50%, and he was at like 75%. Just to give you a little perspective on where, you know, and that's testing your hamstrings and your quads and you know, all that kind of stuff. But he's just doing great. He's already running, and you know, looks really good, very confident. But like I said, he's not going to practice this spring. He might do some drill work and throwing and just some light things that he can do on the side, but as a part of his rehab. But we do expect him to be able to be out there this summer, skill and drill wise. He probably won't be full go as far as, you know, the heavy squats and things like that first summer term. But hopefully by second summer he's doing everything. Oh man, he's going to be, when he leaves here, he'll be 225. You know, Sean's a big man. He's got a great frame on him. He's a worker, and again, his body just responds to everything. And then he's committed. You know, he's a guy that's going to take care of himself. He's going to rest. He's going to fuel properly. So I think when he leaves Clemson, he's in that 220 plus range. I really do. Oh yeah, There's no reason why. I mean, he was 205 last August. So he ought to be easily in that 210, 215 range solidly.
Who's Travis Blanks set? You hoping to have him?
Yeah, we expect to have him back for the fall. He's going to miss the spring, but you know, he's busting his butt. Just unfortunate, but you know, that's football, and we expect him to be back, ready to go by the time fall camp rolls around here.
You have J-Ron. You give him a look at strong safety, or
J-Ron can play both as far as free and strong, but he'll also play some dime for us. He's a guy that I really like him in that role, to be honest with you, because he's a great blitzer. He's a great guy, you know, pressure guy with his speed and length, just presence coming off the edge or bringing him inside. I mean, he can do. You can do a lot of things with a guy like J-Ron. I think we'll grow that role this year. But you know, as far as safety, he can play either one of them. Has played both of them. I really like our guys. I mean, this is as good a look in the secondary group as you're going to see. I mean, these guys can all run. They're athletic. We've got more experience back there now. I know we lost Robert and Gary, and that's two big losses for us as far as playing-wise, but we got some guys that have been around here now a couple of years that, you know, kind of been just chomping at the bit for more opportunity, like a Cordray Tankersley, who I think is an outstanding prospect going into his junior year. You know, Marcus Edmond, Ryan Carter, Adrian Baker, all these guys are ready for more. And it's going to be very competitive this spring. TJ Green is as good an athlete. He's kind of that Vic Beasley, you know, just this time last year we just moved him to safety and he didn't know anything. And now he's had a year. He's just now in position to go compete, to be a starter. So watching that competition, and then you take a guy like Jadar. We don't have a guy on our team that's more transformed after a couple of years than Jadar Johnson. I mean, this guy, he ran the fastest 60 shuttle the other day. We did a little combine the other day. I mean, he's tremendous, strong as an ox, confident. It's just, you know, whereas a couple of years ago he was, you know, trying to go home. You know, wasn't sure he was good enough to play at this level. You know, just immature. And now I look at him now, I'm like, holy cow. So you put Jadar. Corinne's going to play some safety this spring as well, because we got to continue to cross-train him. J-Ron and you know, TJ Green. It's a pretty talented group to go with those corners. You know, with McKenzie and Cordray, Adrian, all those guys. And you got Chalmers coming in here. So it's Van Smith's in the mix. Jeffrey Gibson coming off a red shirt. It's a deep and talented secondary that I think can be a real strength for us.
Are Ebo and Pagano ready to take that next step?
That's what we got to find out. You know, I think that physically they're prepared. Are they emotionally and mentally ready to go do it? We're going to put them in that position. We're going to challenge them every day. There's nobody that I'd rather have handling that process than Marion Hobby and Dan Brooks, I can assure you. I love what I've seen out of both of them in the offseason. They both have really worked very, very hard. Pagano did 38 reps of 225 the other day. I mean, it's unreal. But that's how he is. I mean, he is a worker. Loves the weight room, obviously, and just a very, very committed guy. So I'm excited to see him get that opportunity, you know, to get more reps. It's just been hard with the type of depth that we've had in here. You know, he's another one of those guys like a Kevin Dodd. You know, he's going to be a redshirt sophomore. He's been here 2 years, redshirted. He got a little bit of experience as a redshirt freshman, but now, hey, Deshaun, Josh Watson, Grady, those guys are out of here. It's time for him to shine, and he's going to get a whole new opportunity as opposed to just a guy that's trying to break in. Now he's got a chance to compete to be the guy. And, you know, we'll see how that all plays out. But I personally, you know, think Ebo and Pagano are two guys that have to come through for us to have a good year next year.
Coach, you mentioned the guys that you've had leaving on that defensive line. One of your guys in particular, Vic Beasley. You see the combine he has and all the numbers that he's shooting off the boards on the draft board. Coach, you sit back and go, you know what? This is what I've seen for 4 years, and now, you know, the rest of the nation.
Yeah, I mean, he's been a weight room freak around here for forever since he got here. And, you know, Joey and them have just done an unbelievable job. You know, you don't go off for 5 weeks and become Vic Beasley. You know, that's a 5-year process. I like to, you know, sometimes these guys, they go off for 5 weeks and they got no school and all this kind of stuff, and they get trained for like a drag race. You know, we train for the Daytona 500 around here. You know, I mean, it's a lot of laps, and it's a grind. And man, you know, Vic Beasley was built by Clemson, but he was, more importantly, built by Vic Beasley, because he made the decision. Yes, he's physically blessed, but man, that guy has worked. He balled in. It took him a little while. You know, he didn't know what he was. We didn't know what he was, other than just a great athlete and a strong guy that could run and jump. But once we finally got him in the right spot, and he bought in, he's just kind of blossomed. But he's been turning heads around here on our practice field and in the weight room for a while. And then obviously the last couple of years, what y'all have seen, really the last 3 years, you know, his redshirt sophomore year, you really saw the signs. And then his past 2 years, he was just a phenomenal player. And, you know, just happy for him, you know, because nobody deserves it more. And, you know, you have a guy that could have come out last year and probably been a second rounder, maybe. And, you know, to know that he's gonna be a top pick, it's awesome to see that. He came back, he set his goals, and he came back and he achieved that. He graduated, and, you know, all indications are going to be a solid top 15 pick.
No defections, losses to academics or transfer or anything like that?
No. Kellen Jones, I think I talked about Kellen. Kellen just don't want to play anymore. Just wants to graduate and go to grad school. You know, really smart guy, and you know, he's just kind of wanting to move on with life. But you know, no, not right now. I mean, those are things sometimes happens after spring ball. Sometimes you have guys when you know, I have exit interviews with every player post spring. You know, just to make sure you're all on the same page and you understand evaluation-wise, this is where we see you. And I just think it's important that you do that, and it's honest. Sometimes, you know, it's a conversation about, hey, listen, you're going to just keep working. You got to be ready. Probably going to have to be a little patient here. And other times it's, you know, you're going to be a backup, or you're just not quite, you know, good enough or not committed enough, whatever. And so every now and then you'll have guys that'll make decisions after spring that, you know what, I want more opportunity to play, and I'm okay with that. I don't. That's not a problem. We don't usually have a lot of that, but every now and then we'll have some guys that, you know, where they want to transfer down and where they can have a little more significant role and things like that. And you know, when guys make that decision, that's okay. My big thing is graduating them. That's the big thing with me.
All the guys you guys lost on defense, a lot of big names brought off for Clemson. Where's the bar set going into spring this year versus last year? It's going to be hard to kind of duplicate that leadership day one, right?
Oh yeah. That's that's our biggest, you know, concern day one, is who's going to do that. You know, who's going to be Deshaun, who's going to be Grady, who's going to be Vic and Corey, you know, who's Stephon, Robert. Who are those guys? You know, I don't know. It's more so defensively than on the offensive side from just a pure leadership standpoint. But that's a big concern for us, and it's something that we work hard on in developing leadership. And I like what I'm seeing, and Joey likes what he's seeing down there on a daily basis. But it's just, you just got to go through that process. Post spring, I'm going to have some probably different answers for you. You know, because we're gonna, as I said earlier, look for those opportunities to challenge guys and grow that in our team. But you know, I like our personnel. Wish that you know, from year to year it changes. From a depth experience standpoint, we've got our 4 starters right now on the defensive line are all going to be drafted. I mean, you know, DJ Reader, Carlos Watkins, Shaq Lawson, and Kevin Dodd, you can just check it. And one of these days, their name's going to get called if they don't get hurt. So we got good people. But the difference in us last year is all those guys were backups, you know, and so experienced. Whereas this year, the backups are very talented, and we got more coming in, but inexperienced. And you just can't, you can't just give a guy that experience. And there's a process of toughness that's developed, over time. And that's what we've lost more than anything. So we've got our work cut out for us in teaching and coaching and developing that. But that's what we do. That's what we do.
That proposed rules change for the offensive linemen. Just your thoughts on it, and would that change the way you would block, like on that quick toss to the wide receiver coming around?
No, I mean we don't. It really shouldn't be a factor for us, to be honest with you. But I don't like it. I don't like the change. I mean, just call it. Call the penalty. That's the thing is I think that I don't like two things. I don't like the fact that nobody knew about it until it was just, here you go. There was I went to the convention. I'm in a meeting for 3 hours, and there's not a word mentioned about it. We talked about a lot of things, but that's never mentioned. So that part I don't like, and just the process of it. And then the second thing is, again, we have a rule. Just call it. Call the penalty. When you look at the clips that they looked at to talk about the rule, I mean, you got guys 6 yards down the field cutting backers, and they don't call the penalty. Well, I mean, we don't need to change the rule. We need to enforce the rule. That's just my opinion on it. And I use the example of basketball. It'd be like, I mean, we got a 3-second rule in basketball, and we got guys camping out in the lane, and now, well, let's change it to 1 second because we're not calling it. No, just enforce the rule. And so my whole thing is let's don't have a knee-jerk reaction. Let's put an emphasis on it this year, and because that's not fair. I mean, hey, that's not right. That's not right really puts your. I mean, you got a linebacker getting cut at 5 yards and they're throwing the post route in behind it. That's not fair to the defense. And I want it to be, fair. But to just change a rule because we're not enforcing the penalty or putting enough emphasis on it, I don't think that's the way to go. So that's just, that's my opinion. But they didn't ask me, so till after the fact. But that's I have no idea. Everybody's kind of voiced their opinion on it. Whether or not they'll table it and put an emphasis on it for the year remains to be seen. But it won't affect us. We our guys understand where they need to be, and they understand, and the way we call things, they know when they can be a little more aggressive downfield and when they can't be.
14 guys here already enrolled. Would it go without saying then you're expecting maybe more of them to have immediate impact this fall?
I think that's natural to assume, just because it's not a guarantee. And Josh Watson. We've had lots of guys who've had to come in and they just weren't quite ready. And so you don't want to just play a guy to play him. But a lot of times, yeah. You have a spring, an off season, a summer. You're basically getting installation for the third time. You're getting a system installation in the spring, in the summer, and fall camp. And for your typical freshman, the first time they really get installation is fall camp. And then they get it again for the second time in the spring, and then first part of summer. So it's really, almost like they've got a year under their belt by the time they get to August. And they transform so much. And then a lot of it just has to do with depth and need at the position. Obviously, there's some positions where we've got some glaring needs when you look at some of the mid-years that came in. We're going to need some help in the OL. That's an area that somebody can help us pretty quick. So, but it's not a guarantee just because you come in at mid-year you're going to play.
Coach, you mentioned people that have to be patient. Are Milan, Richard, and Jeffrey Gibson, are those guys that just need to be patient, or because of what you've seen in practice during the redshirt years, are those guys that can compete?
No, I think they can compete. I've got to see if Jeffrey hadn't really had a whole lot of opportunity yet. He's just really turned everybody's head on the scout team. But it's a whole different deal when you start putting the scheme with it. We're on the scout team, you're just kind of looking at a card and playing loose and free. Can he really regurgitate the meetings to the practice field and so forth? We'll see. Milan has had much more work You know, Milan was a guy that we carried with us. We kind of were getting him ready to play, and then we kind of made that decision that, hey, let's hold him. So system-wise, I think he's further along. Just because he's, you know, we knew Jeffrey we put him on the shelf. You know, he needed a red shirt. But he's a talented young prospect. He certainly can compete. That's why we recruited him. But Milan and Cannon both, they're going to get a ton of opportunity this spring. I mean, Seckinger's out, Greenlee's out. Right now, JJ's out. So, you know, Leggett and Milan and Cannon, lace them up and let's go. It's going to be fun to watch them compete.
This last offseason, the countdown clock is a big storyline, trying to motivate guys for the South Carolina game. Now that the streak's over, are you guys focusing on anything else to kind of keep guys on their toes? Maybe their loss to Florida State, something sticking or crawl?
No, I mean, it really wasn't. It was a big storyline to y'all because somebody walked by and saw it hang on the wall and then wrote a story about it. It really wasn't that big a storyline to us. It was just us, you know, just kind of, it's not something we talked about every day or anything like that. It just was something that, you know, the one goal we had not done a good job with, of right there. And we needed to just kind of have that daily reminder. And it's still there. It's a very important part of what we try to do here as a program. But you know, we want to win the league. It's just that simple. I mean, we want to win the league. And if we're going to win the league, we got to win the division. It's not one in particular team. We can't just say, okay, boy, if we beat Florida State, man, we're the ACC champ. You know, it doesn't work that way. They're all huge. We got to, I mean, every single one of them are just huge. You know, we just have a journey that we break the year down into, and right now we're in that get ready phase, and then we'll transform, then we'll get into prime time, and that's what and then we have a daily focus, and we have a formula for excellence, and that's really what we just stay dialed in on, and we constantly put that in front of our guys. You know, it's really not as much about who we play as it is how we play, and I think our guys have really bought into that. They're all huge. Everybody's capable of beating us. You know, we're not going to just roll out there and beat anybody. We've got to come to play and be ready and respect the opponent each and every week. But you know, yeah, on your side of it, big picture wise, you know, we'd be in the ACC championship the last few years if we beat Florida State and got it done. So you know, hopefully we can get another shot here at home this year, and if we're going to get back to the division championship and the ACC championship, every one of those division games is huge, and so we all understand that, but we don't sit around thinking about that every day. We're thinking about just, you know, getting Clemson to be the best it can be.